Okay, so now we continue with idle time. Now, you see, as we noted already in the two, labor efficiency and also in labor rate. Now, if you look at the question, let's look at the question and see how we're going to work out idle time variance. Idle time variance is simply the difference between what was actually worked and what was actually paid. That is idle time. So there we go. Our question gives us the information. So hours worked, you see hours worked, hours actually worked and actually paid for. Hours actually worked were 8,000 hours. But hours actually paid for were 8,500 hours. You see? So here it is very easy. We simply compare the hours worked with the hours paid. So let's go. Our hours worked here. What were our hours worked? The actual hours worked were how many?
8,000.
8,000. Now, I'm going to show you a much more easier way of dealing with idle time. Okay, let's go. We have idle time. So idle time. So here we simply compare two things. We compare hours worked versus hours paid. See? So how many hours were worked? So hours worked were how many?
8,000.
Okay, we've got 8,000 hours worked. You see? So hours worked. The hours worked, these guys worked for 8,000 hours. They are worked. And then hours paid were 8,500 hours. So there we go. We've got a variance there of 500 adverse. It's a bad thing. They paid more, but they worked less. See? So there was some idle time. So idle time there is those number of hours there, 500 hours. Now, you see, in variance analysis, we do not report variances in what? We don't report variances in units. We always attach a value. So the value we always use the standard price. What is our standard price per hour?
2 kwacha.
2 kwacha per hour. Yes. So we multiply this one by kwacha 2 per hour. Because these, as you know, they are hours. Let me just do that so that in the exam, you don't make a mistake. So hours adverse. So such hour and hour goes, then what we have there is a favorable, is an adverse 1,000 kwacha. 1,000 kwacha adverse variance. It's a bad thing. They shouldn't have spent that. And the examiner also asks what has made idle time. I think this one is easy. The idle time variance is always adverse. I think I must say that. Let me mention here that the idle time variance, this one, let me even include is always adverse. There's no way it can be favorable because you are paying for more than you worked. Have you seen? It's always adverse. So whenever you hear the word so it's always adverse variance. So whenever we see idle time, just note an adverse variance. What can cause that? It could be machine breakdown. It could be machine breakdown. Maybe machine. We know there is some machine breakdown. Yeah. But what else do you think can make people to stop working for some time, apart from machine breakdown? I worked in a chemical plant some years back, so there used to be lots of accidents. So, accident, you see? Accidents, yes. That one, you see? Even injury of key employee. Have you seen? Sometimes even just illness. Some people have got sugar. At the middle of the project, the sugar may go up and then they fall sick. And if this is the key employee, you may stop working for some time. So there may be illness or injury of employee. You see? So be able to look at this from all angles. Variance analysis is a bonus. Okay. There we go. Another variance we're going to work out is variable overhead variances. Now you see, the variable overhead variances are sweet variances. Okay, let's go. We've got variable overhead. So now these variances also have got two variances. The variable overhead has got what we're going to call efficiency and expenditure. You see? So there's expenditure here. Expenditure, we're talking about cash. And then there's also efficiency. So there's expenditure and efficiency. I should put versus or I should put and. Yeah, so it has got two variances. Efficiency, as usual, efficiency is in hours. Expenditure, we're talking about money, cash, kwachas, dollars, euros, yuan, if you're in China, RMBs, whatever it may be. So there we go. Now, expenditure, when you see the word expenditure, a variable overhead expenditure, it is based on actual hours. What should it have cost? Have you seen? You compare to what it costs. So the actual hours worked, how much were you supposed to spend using a variable rate? The only difference with a variable variance and the labor variance is the rate. A labor variance has got its own rate and the variable variance has got its own rate. That's the only difference. Otherwise, everything else is the same. So I love when you are dealing with a variable overhead variance expenditure, just look at the number of hours and the rate. The hours are the same, the only difference is the rate. So you see, the actual hours worked, you see how much should they have cost you. So the actual hours worked in this question, we already know, they use how many hours actually? The actual hours worked were 8,000 hours, you see? Have you seen? So we say 8,000 hours should cost how much?
0.3.
Should cost 0.3 kwacha per hour. That's the variable rate. Use the variable rate. So how much is that? How much is that? When we multiply 8,000 multiplied by 0.3, we get 2,400.
It's coming to 2,400.
Yes, now that is kwacha. This is money. So now, but they did cost how much? The variable rate, they did cost how much? So they did 2,600. You see? In case you are wondering where Madam Emma is getting those figures have been given to us in the question. There we go. See, variable overhead amounted to 2,600. There it is. So it has been given to us in the question. No need to guess. Just take your time, chill, and then move on. Okay, so there we go. 2,600. So there's an adverse variance here. Have you seen? Of how much? Of 200. 200 kwacha adverse. So the examiner is interested in knowing why you have an adverse variable overhead expenditure. Remember what we said? We said variable overhead expenditure is based on what should it have cost, what it actually cost you. So this means you spent more money on than you should have spent. What could be the reason for this adverse variance? The possible reason could be what we are going to see next on the fixed overheads. Have you seen? So let me just say here, see next. See next.
Okay.
See next, we'll be dealing with fixed production overheads. It is the exact same thing. We are going to see the fixed production overheads. Even there, when it is favorable, we'll still see the fixed overheads. So because it's the same thing, so we'll talk about when we get to the fixed overhead variances. Okay, so we've done with the expenditure. Let's do with the efficiency. See, the variable overhead efficiency is the simplest variance there is. Why? So when you're dealing with efficiency, you simply do this efficiency. Okay, so for efficiency, here is what you do. just write the statement and say just like labor. Just like labor. You see? So just like labor above. Are you seeing? So here, what was the variance for labor? In terms of hours, what was the labor variance?
1,700.
Yes, labor variance was 1,700. Simply multiply these hours at what? At a variable rate. How much is the variable rate? 0.3 kwacha per hour. So how much are we talking about is the variance? And base variance how much?
500.
How much?
510.
We have 510 favorable. Was it if the labor was favorable, it means even this one will be favorable. You see, this one was a favorable variance, so even this one is a favorable amount of money. Favorable. Very easy. Don't stress. The reason is simple because the units are still using the same amount of hours to make. The only difference is that the rates are charged differently. There's the labor rate and there's a variable rate, but using the same hours. Okay, Mr. Mfune, are you there? Are you okay? Mr. Mfune, are you okay? Professor, everything okay?
Yeah, everything okay.
Okay, good. So let's move on. So we've done the efficiency, we've done the expenditure. We can now move on to another variance, which is called the budgeted. Let's talk about the fixed overhead variances. These variances are also awesome. Let's go to the fixed overhead variances. Okay, there we go. Now the fixed overhead variances also have got two sub variances for now. Fixed production overheads. We're going to talk about two sub variances. We talk about number one, there's also expenditure. Okay, and number two, there's efficiency. Have you seen that? Efficiency. But you see, sometimes there's a variance which you have to calculate, which is simply fixed overhead volume variance, which is capacity variance. So sometimes you work this variance out, the capacity variance, sometimes you don't. So we are going to work it out today, the capacity volume variance. We are going to work it out today so that we just do everything right now. Okay. And we're going to tell you the situation where you should work it out and when you should not work it out. Okay, let's go. So there we go. Expenditure, as we mentioned, this is the easiest variance because it has got to do with the money quachas. How much is involved? No, I am spending so much. This is dollars. How much is involved? This one is hours. Volume has got to do with units. Production, that is capacity. Hours also, capacity can also be used in terms of hours. To see units in hours, you can convert hours into units, units into hours, and etc. to work them out. So there we go. Expenditure, we're going to say, what was the budgeted fixed overhead? Here, simply compare. When you're dealing with fixed overhead expenditure, you have to know this variance is about the fixed overhead expenditure is a variance which has got to do with the budgeted costs in comparison to the actual costs. As you see, so what was the budgeted expenditure? You simply say budgeted what? Budgeted expenditure was how much? And then you compare this one with the actual expenditure. Have you seen?
Okay.
Yeah, these are the easiest variances to work out in the exam. You can even be smiling and you have a bubble gum, you're chewing a bubble gum, happy. You see? This is what I call the ensemble way is the free way. You get 3 marks. First, do the variance question. So what do we do there? We go to the question and check out the expenditure. What is the budgeted expenditure? Now, the budgeted expenditure, the easiest way to work it out is to look at the budgeted production because each unit has got a fixed cost inside it. Have you seen? What was the budgeted production? It was 5,100 units. There we go. Each unit has got a fixed cost inside, so it helps you to know the actual cost. So they made 5,100 units as their budget. How much was the cost per unit, the fixed cost per unit? How much was the fixed cost per unit? The fixed cost per unit was how much? There we go.
3.7.
We've been given, see,
Huh?
fixed overhead per unit is simply 7.4.
7.4.
7.4.
But if you love wasting time, you can introduce by 2, you can multiply by 2, then multiply by how much? By 3.7.
3.7.
It will still be able to give you the same answer. If you love wasting time, you can multiply by 2 and then multiply by 3.7, you'll still be able to get the same answer. So the fixed cost per unit is 7.4. So they budgeted to make how many units? They budgeted to make 5,100 units. And it costs, how much should it have cost them? But there we go. You also compare the actual production. The actual production was how much was it? 4,850. How much did it cost them? It cost them how much to make? Fixed overheads amounted to 42,300.
300.
These are the free marks in the exam. Variance analysis is a free mark in the exam. So the budgeted production was simply, there you go. You get your 5,100 units. You multiply by the quarter, 7.4 per unit. And then how much do you have? How much do you have there? How much?
37,740.
37,740. So the actual was how much? What was the actual?
42,300.
42,300. These are quarters. So how much do you have there?
45,60.
Okay, you are saying you have 4,560 quarter adverse because they spent more than the budget. Have you seen? Now see, we said that what could have caused this? What could have caused this expenditure variance to be adverse is the same thing which can cause it, the variable over the expense to be adverse. Remember what we said? Number one, what could have caused that adverse variance could be an expenditure variance could be caused by, if it is adverse, could be caused by increase in cost of service used. Have you seen? Just increase in cost of service used. Increase in cost of service used. Cost of service. So the increase in cost of service used, and the other reason why it can be adverse could be excessive use of services. You see? So all those could be the reason: excessive use of services. Excessive use of services. Number three, the other reason could be sometimes even the change, change in type of service. Use a cheaper service, you go to an expensive service. So change in type of service. So that could be change in type of service. But sometimes things are not always nice. Sometimes things are not always bad. Sometimes things are sometimes good. So when things are good, the possible causes of a favorable could be that number one, there were some savings in costs. If it is favorable, if the expenditure is favorable, it could be savings in costs. There could be some savings in costs. And also there could be some also more economical use of services. At least you are being careful in your spending habits. So more economical use of services. So these same answers, they are the ones which apply to variable overhead expenditure. Have you seen that? So let me include this word saying same. Same as what? Same as variable production overheads. I think I mentioned it earlier. We were going to talk about it together, the same reasons we put on both. But sometimes there are some interrelationship in variances. You have to see, especially on materials, labor, and pricing. Those are really interrelated sometimes. Okay, another one we can talk about where there's variable fixed production overhead is also fixed production overhead efficiency. Okay, so we go to the fixed production overhead efficiency variance. Okay, so this variance looks at what? Well, the fixed overhead efficiency variance is a beautiful variance because, as you know, an efficiency variance is based on actual production. How long should it have taken, and how long did it take? That is the efficiency variance. Always, the efficiency variance is on one thing. So in this question, we are working out the fixed overhead volume efficiency variance. So the fixed overhead volume efficiency variance. Say volume efficiency variance. So this one is volume. So what do we do here? Here we simply get the budgeted production to see, because it's efficiency. Efficiency, we look at hours. Have you seen? Now, this is the most easiest variance to work with. You simply write this word here, possibly one of my favorite statements on variances because it's so sweet. Just say, you see? Madam Emma, this is why you show that you are following. Just like what? Just like
labor.
Yeah. Oh, Madam Emma answered, yes. Thank you, Madam Emma, just like labor. You see? What was the labor variance? What was the efficiency variance for labor?
1.7.
Labor efficiency variance was 1,700. It was favorable hours. Now, these ones just multiply them at what? At the fixed rates. How much is the fixed rate per hour?
3.7.
3.7 kwacha per hour. Such that hour and hour goes, and then we have the money. How much?
Which will give us 6,290.
6,290 kwacha. Favorable. You see, the efficiency variance is the easiest variance to calculate. You see, it is such a beautiful variance because once you calculate labor, all you do is cruise in the exam. Just write just like labor above.
Okay.
Yeah. You save yourself some time of saying these units plus blah, 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 blah. But sometimes you find that you don't know labor. So if you don't know labor, you could have gotten the production for 850 units by 2 hours, you get 7,000 hours, 9,700 less 8,000 worked, you're 1.7, and then you can waste time all you want, but I'm not gonna do it for you. So there we go. Another variance we're going to calculate here is this beautiful variance here, the fixed overhead volume capacity variance. Now this variance is beautiful. Have you seen? The fixed overhead volume capacity. Have you seen? So we're dealing with the capacity variance now. You see, the capacity variance is a beautiful variance. Now, what you must understand here is this. What causes the volume variance, fixed overhead volume variance? The volume variance is simply based on the budgeted units versus the actual units. Now, the difference should be valued at the OAR, the overhead absorption rate. And how to get the OAR? You simply get BOC over BAL. So there we go. Let's go. What was our budgeted hours? You see, the volume, look at it. Volume is units. Have you seen in terms of what? Hours. We're going to what was the budget production? Here you see the budget production was how much? 5,100 units. Have you seen? These units, they should take how many hours?
2 hours.
It should take 2 hours per unit. You see, when you multiply that, you've got 10,200. So you have your 10,200 hours. So according to the budget, this company, the budget that we're going to use, how many hours? 10,200. On what production? The production was supposed to be 5,100. Now, this is the only variance which works the opposite of other variances. But what did it take them? It took them how many hours to produce? 8,000 hours.
8,000.
Now, this variance is beautiful because it makes the student understand the meaning of adverse and favorable. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? What is the variance? The variance is obviously 2,200, not so?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a variance of 2,200 here. 2,200. Now, is it favorable or adverse? Is it a good thing or bad thing?
So adverse.
It's adverse. Madam Emma, do you agree it's adverse?
Yes, it is.
Why is it adverse?
But don't I?
Why is it adverse?
Because they were supposed to produce 10,200
units.
but they have now produced 8,000. So,
okay, they were not supposed to produce 10,200. This 10,200, these are hours.
Hours, yes.
You see? Their capacity is weak. It can't contain 10,200 hours. Have you seen?
oh yeah.
Can just go up to 8,000 hours. So their machineries can only run up to 8,000 hours. Their machines are not so good. They can't run for 10,200 hours, which is a bad thing. Have you seen? They can only run up to 8,000 hours. This is a bad thing. It's an adverse variance. So how much do we multiply that one with? How much? Because it's a fixed overhead, we use the fixed rate. Have you seen? 3.70 kwacha per hour. Have you seen how I'm writing the answers? I'm including kwacha per hour. In the exam, do the same kwacha per hour. This is management accounting, show the units. So how much is the variance there, the adverse variance? There we go.
8,100.
8,140. See? Can you see that? The 8,140, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so the difference between those two is 8,140 adverse. So what could have caused this adverse variance? The volume variance. Now you see, the volume variance, if it is adverse, it could simply mean that the production or the level of activity was less than the budget. It is easy. Have you seen? The level of activity was less than budget. So just say production or level of activity was less than budget. You see, those are the possible causes. If it was favorable, we could have said something like this. We could have said production or level of activity was greater than budget. Opposite of this guy. The opposite of that guy is the favorable reason. Okay, so that's how we worked out those variances. So now we are done with all the variances here. So now we can go to working out our sales volume variances so that we come up with the operating statement. Have you seen?
Okay.
So our volume variances have got two things also. The sales volume, so the sales variances have got two things. The sales variance has got number one, has got price. Have you seen? The sales variance has got price variances and also I've got what? Volume variances. So the selling price variance is a measure of the effect on expected profit as a difference of the prices in standard etc. So here we go. So the sales variances has got 2. The sales variance has got 2. It has got what we are going to call number 1 price and what volume. Now I want to mention something here real quick. Whenever you see the word volume in variances, think about contribution or profit. Always. Because this shows the difference in contribution or profit as a result of the difference in the volume produced. If you produce 10,000 units, you will make more contribution than when you produce 5,000 units. So use contribution when working out these variances. So let's go. How do we work out the price variance? So the price variance, we simply say price. We're going to compare how much would you have made. So we're going to say 4,850 units because so that was the actual production. You see, the actual production was how much? Was 4,850 units. You see, so how much could you have made? The selling price was how much? The selling price was here. You see, standard selling price 20 kwacha per unit. You see, standard profit. See that standard profit was how much?
6 kwacha.
6 kwacha per unit. Have you seen that? Standard cost was that one. So we must work out the standard what contribution. Depending on which one we're dealing with, whether we're dealing with marginal costing principles or absorption costing principles. So let's go. There we go. Okay. So 4,850 units should make for Natemane. This one should sell at how much? According to the budget, it is 20 kwacha per unit. Have you seen that? So how much money are we expecting from those units?
97,000.
97,000 kwacha. You see? Okay, but did make how much? How much did we make?
Just a minute to read through.
We have been told
95.
in the question there. In the question we've been told what we made actually.
95,600.
Okay, very good. So in the question there, we made 95,600. There, that's how much money we made when we sold the 48,000 units. We made that much. So is it a good thing or it's a bad thing? We made 95,600. Do you think it's a good thing or it's a bad thing?
No.
We made less than we should have made. Have you seen? So what is our price variance there? What is our price variance?
1,400.
1,400 adverse. Have you seen? We sold at a price lower than we should have sold it at. There are different ways of working out these ones. Sometimes simply get the actual price by the standard price, you multiply by the actual volume, you get the same answer. So there are many ways of dealing with these variances. And as we do working backwards, we're going to do with many ways of solving this one. So number 2, let's go to volume variance. Now the volume variance is one of my favorite variances because it's sweet. It's easier. So the volume variance, there we go. So the volume variance, okay. Here, we simply look at the budgeted sales volume. You compare with the actual sales volume. Have you seen? And then you multiply by the standard contribution. So what was the budgeted volume?
The budgeted was 5,100.
Okay. So the budget was 5,100. Have you seen? So 5,100, that was the budget. Then the actual volume?
The actual was 4,850.
4,850 units. These are units. So what is the balance there? 250 units. Adverse. Have you seen? Huh? They
Yes.
produce less than the budget. Have you seen? So what do? We multiply by the standard contribution. What was the standard profit?
6.
6 kwacha per unit. How much money are we talking about there?
1,500.
Very, very good.
Adverse.
1,500 adverse. You see? That means now we are done. Have you seen? So what could cause the sales volume variance to be favorable or adverse? See, the sales volume variance here is simply the difference between the actual units sold and the budgeted units valued at the standard profit per unit. Have you seen the difference? So you don't stress here, just get the budgeted units, remove the actual units, the variance multiplied by the standard profit or standard contribution, depending on what the examiner tells you. Sometimes the examiner tells you, use marginal costing principles, then you know you're using what? You're using the standard contribution. So in this case, the examiner is silent, so we are using the standard profit. So this figure also goes when working out the operating statement under marginal costing principles and under the profit under the absorption costing principles. So the selling price variance or sales price variance here, we are simply saying that the selling price variance is a measure of the effect on the expected profit of a different selling price to a standard selling price. How will the difference in profit be as a result of the difference in the selling prices used? So you must understand those variances very well. So right away, we want now to move on to something rather interesting. And this one is called the operating statements. You see, variance is a free mark in the exam. Operating statement. So here we're going to go through sample way. The sample way is the free way. So operating statement, we're going to do it both under number 1, we're going to use AC, and then number 2, we're going to use MC. You see? So we'll begin with the AC operating statement. So there we go. Okay. So because I'm such a nice man, I'm going to do something like this. Okay. So there we go. At this level where you are now, you should be able to answer all cost variances. So I want to say that now we can move on and resume with operating statements. So let's turn the pages to operating statements. In the next video, for those of you who are watching us online, we are simply turning on again the indicated job. Thank you so much. Stay tuned.